We'll just wait a couple minutes, make sure we have a nice group of folks before we get started. And everyone gets to enjoy hearing those lovely tones for a little longer. Happy Friday, beautiful morning. Love the sunshine. Everyone think ahead to your weekend plans. Great, thanks to everybody who's joined. We're going to get started very soon. Appreciate you all being here. Such a great group of folks interested in this program, and we're glad to be having conversation with you all today. All right, so just so everybody's aware, this webinar is being recorded and will automatically be shared with all of you at the end of the meeting. We'll also be posting this online for others to view who are not able to attend. So please do not worry about taking pictures of the slides with your phone as we go. And I'm going to introduce the Office of Housing Deputy Director, Andrea Akita, to start us off today, to welcome all of you to this meeting.
Thank you, Kelly, and good morning. My name is Andrea Akita. I'm the Deputy Director in the Office of Housing. And at the Seattle Office of Housing, our vision is that all people have a healthy and affordable home. We are partners in creating affordable housing, and we do this by equitably investing to prevent displacement and increase opportunities for people to live in Seattle. We see every person in this room as a partner with us in this mission and vision. Whether you own, develop, or operate housing in Seattle, you are and we are part of a solution to our city's affordable housing crisis. Over the next 20 years, we will need tens of thousands of more homes in Seattle, especially homes affordable to people and families with lower incomes. And that's why we need everyone working together, public agencies, nonprofit organizations, market rate developers, to address a large and growing need. So I want to add my thanks to you for joining us today to share your experiences with the MFTE program. We are eager to hear your ideas for how we might improve the program. And with that, I will hand it back over to Kelly Larson to provide additional context on Seattle's MFTE program and the principles guiding reauthorization.
Great, thank you so much, Andrea. Appreciate those words. We are very proud of our mission and vision at the Office of Housing and have done some work to bring those up to modern times in the last year. So we're happy to share those with everybody. And it helps all of us, I think, to just ground in the work that we're doing every day and set some context for the discussion for today as well. So for today, we're going to walk through several items. We've had a lot of conversations, but I think it's really important for the Office of Housing to also, put forward some context about where we're coming from with MFTE. So we're going to share some guiding principles. We're going to walk through requirements that have been in place and that have changed over time, share with you the timeline ahead. And then there's going to be more engagement in the meetings that are happening after this. So apologize. I don't typically like to talk at people, but that's what we decided for today, just so that we could sort of share the general goals around the program from our perspective, and then open it up to everybody for the next meetings to hear from you. So let's go to slide 4. So as Andrea said, we are very appreciative at the Office of Housing for all partners who are contributing to the mission of our office. And really plainly said, it's to build more affordable homes for our community. It's important for all of us, including me, to remember the reason we do this work, which is the renters themselves, people and their families who live in these homes, who work and play in our neighborhoods and make our communities vibrant places where we all want to be. It's, I think, very easy for all of us to get lost in our daily work, which can be development details and deciding finishes, paperwork, rule setting, the most nuanced little levels of detail of this program. But I'm hoping at least this meeting today that we can all take a step back for this first part to agree that we have shared values of building more homes for our community and that those homes benefit real people and real lives. So through our discussions leading up to this point at the Office of Housing, our staff have been listening to a variety of constituents from MFTE. We've been examining our program policies. We're considering administrative changes. And from our office, clear up high on the 57th floor of the Seattle Municipal Tower, I'm not there right now, but many of our team are. We're still doing everything we can also to center renters in our discussions and place them at the forefront as we craft policy and amend program rules. And actually, we can pull down the slides now because I'm going to introduce our special guest. So as we've been going through this process, and I will tell you all that I'm very new to MFTE. I come from the world of homelessness, homeless housing, permanent supportive housing. I used to work at Plymouth Housing for many years, and that is my background. So coming into MFTE now as the policy and planning director has been a new program for me to learn. It's been a great opportunity to work with our team, learn from our staff, hear from you all. And try to figure out what we have ahead of us here for the year with MFTE. So I'm energized by learning something new and sorting through some of these tricky challenges. But I'm also really energized by the work and the center of the work, which is the renters. So I was fortunate enough to attend Bellwether Luncheon a couple years ago, where I first encountered Lindsay Haley, who is one of our amazing people doing incredible work every day in our affordable housing portfolio. And she is going to share her story with us today. So please, Lindsay, join us.
Howdy, my name is Lindsay and I work with Bellwether Housing. We're an affordable housing organization in the greater Seattle area. I started with Bellwether as an assistant site manager for a 30, 40, and 50% AMI building. We worked heavily with folks coming straight out of homelessness, shelter living, those receiving SSI and SSDI payments, and incarceration. What housing stability offered folks was so tangible that within weeks you could see a change in their appearance, emotional regulation, their self-esteem, pride, and demeanor. And in some cases, it was a real chance at sobriety. Most importantly, a chance to finally belong within a community. Prior to working at Bellwether, I had worked the conventional side of property management, overseeing about 13 properties between Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, and Bremerton. The problems between the two were not so different. Both experienced income insecurity, lack of financial literacy, rising food, medical, and childcare costs, legal issues, and mental health struggles. The biggest difference between the two was access to resources. Seeing this disconnect, I was compelled to pivot within my organization and move to the Resident Services Department. As a resident service coordinator, I had more opportunities to work hands-on with our residents to connect them with local service providers and different organizations who were able to work in collaboration within Bellwether and the residents to support their housing success. Commuting to Seattle in I-5 traffic during rush hour was the only part of my job that I hated. I never thought that I could afford to live in the city with the dramatic increases in rents that we had been seeing. I was barely dollars over income to qualify for tax credit properties, but wildly under income to afford a metropolis market rate rents. Feeling like my life was going to pass me by while sitting on I-5, I stumbled across the MFTE program. It truly seemed too good to be true. It was my housing prayer answered. I moved into Capitol Hill in a 65% AMI unit and was able to walk to work. This opened so much to me that I had been missing. I was now part of a community. I was able to make friends, resume volunteer work, and get hours back in my day that weren't spent in Dante's traffic circle of hell. Life was really good. And then, as life tends to do, it came at me fast. Tragedy struck. It was the form of an F-150 running a red light and dragging me out of the crosswalk I was in. In a moment of someone's carelessness, my entire life had changed. I spent a month in Harborview, followed by a year on FMLA recovering, learning how to walk, read, and speak properly again. Throughout this ordeal, my income was reduced by 40%, but I was able to maintain my residence. Renting MFTE, the city had limitations on how high my rent could be raised yearly, and there was a utility allowance included. My answered housing prayer had turned into my biggest recovery blessing, a chance to return to my life and to try again. I was still part of my community. I was able to return to the job I love, but this time with a much different perspective and an emboldened passion. The MFTE program was a huge part of my success, and my success helped others in my community to also be successful. It keeps me in the same neighborhoods as those I serve, keeps me connected to the problems that my neighbors and residents are experiencing, and keeps me empathetic and motivated to work towards solutions and stability together with residents, neighbors, my organization, as well as myself. The integration of income levels combined with the diversity of experience, both professional and personal, allows folks that may not normally be in community with each other to share. We share our expertise, our success, opportunities, and philanthropy. It brings us closer together and helps us find compassion for each other. It also opens the door for more people to get involved in working towards solutions to the many challenges so many in Seattle are facing. My story is only one of the 6,600 affordable homes with potential MFTE renters like me. To me, this program has been invaluable, and I am beyond grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Wonderful. We so appreciate you sharing your story and living in that beautiful apartment where you are right now. So great. We are going to make Lindsay our unofficial mascot of the MFTE reauthorization effort this year. So we'll be calling back to this moment, I think, throughout the year. So appreciate that grounding and just your courage and sharing all of your personal story as much as you did. So again, this is why we're here. And, we want, I think, from the Office of Housing perspective, to think about ways that we can make improvements in this program that can better serve people like Lindsay. So how to move on? I'm really boring compared to Lindsay, but we're gonna pull back up the PowerPoint slides, and I want to invite everybody to use the chat function to ask questions or add comments along the way here. We will be tracking those. We may not answer questions live, but we will be tracking questions and are planning to post an FAQ online soon. Stephanie, could you go back actually to slide 4? I didn't quite get through that one. Thank you so much. So in our efforts together here, we are striving for balance. I will repeat this many times throughout the year. I've already said this word a lot, balance, but we actually strive for balance in all things at the Office of Housing and many of our different programs. We're trying to balance the public benefit of this program with the public cost of the program while centering Seattle renters and homeowners. We understand and have heard from our city-funded providers of affordable housing that these are very challenging times. And we know that they are challenging times for many operators in MFT as well. There are some serious environmental, policy, financial, economic conditions that are causing a lot of stress for operators of housing, and it makes our work very important at this time. We know insurance is costing more. There's been a lot of change in our county and region on around income. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We've seen some challenges with our safety net and our lack of behavioral health and crisis response. And that's really affecting, all housers across the spectrum. So we want to make sure that we're doing our part with this program to do what we can to strive for the right balance. So going on to the next slide, we have come to this place with MFTE as a result of several key rules, documents, whatever you would like to call them. The four that are listed here are kind of the primary factors or the primary operating environment that have crafted sort of where we've come, but it's also been based on our experience operating MFTE since 1998. So that's a lot of years and a lot of experience. A lot of evolution has happened over time. And, one thing we have heard from folks is I've definitely heard frustration. I've heard irritation. And I do want to make sure that we talk through today that the rules exist for various reasons. Rules have not been created in a vacuum and for no reason. Generally, regulation gets laid in place as a response to behavior that government entities feel needs to be regulated. And then they're able to kind of move that through all the necessary approval processes. So starting with the state RCW, the purpose of MFTE, according to the state, is to encourage increased residential opportunities, including affordable housing, and to stimulate construction of new family housing and rehab of vacant and underutilized buildings. Other benefits include more developers building affordable homes. Of course, if there's more development, there's increased sales tax, real estate excise tax, MHA payments, infrastructure improvements in our communities. Recently, I heard a very smart person reference the concept of the triple win of MFTE, where we can, we offer an incentive with MFTE, we gain affordable homes, we gain market supply, and there are MHA payments that benefit the Office of Housing to invest in lower income affordable housing as well. And I think that's a nice framework to be thinking as we're going forward with this program reauthorization, the triple win. Next, for the Seattle Municipal Code, our program purpose of MFTE is twofold: to increase and maintain affordable housing and to affirmatively further fair housing. That's a very important component for the Office of Housing and something that we really take seriously. Stepping back for just a moment to program costs, the other side of the teeter-totter. The two primary costs that we are looking at are foregone property tax revenue. So these are for property values that are not assessed prior to the tax exemption going into effect for properties. As of 2022, approximately $174 million of property tax revenue has been foregone for just the existing MFTE properties. That doesn't include MFTE properties that have expired. We also have the shifted property tax cost, the component where offsetting MFTE means that other property taxpayers absorb those tax payments. For 2022 alone, approximately $67 million of property taxes were shifted to other taxpayers, approximately $121 per homeowner. Of course, there are also administrative costs that impact, the Office of Housing team as well as your teams, and that is important to acknowledge as well. As the MFTE program has evolved, the Department of Commerce has stepped up their interest in also monitoring the implementation of MFTE, and they've released audit guidelines that have come out somewhat recently, last couple of years. And as a result of these, we are looking at, the data that we need to pull in and review and be prepared for a commerce audit. And that is part of what determines what we ask of all of you. So the Department of Commerce is requiring rents and vacancies for market rate units, as well as the income restricted affordable housing units, income and assets for individual households, affirmative marking materials in cases where vacancy rates exist that are higher for the income restricted units than for the market rate units, providing summary of noncompliance, and that we assess penalties for substantive noncompliance. So these are sort of guiding principles from the audit guideline that are on our mind for moving forward through this reauthorization as well. And then there was this 2012 City of Seattle audit before many of us were here, but it did play a major role in setting into action many of the practices that you all experience today in the program. There were 19 recommendations. 15 of 19 were generally geared toward increased compliance. There was a sense that there was not enough compliance in this program, and there was a need to step it up, basically. So many of the things that were recommended have been put into action. That included, more frequent tenant income certifications to ensure that these homes were being used for those who they were intended to serve. We were encouraged to collect data more regularly. So you've now seen the launch of a new database system that our team worked very hard to complete, and that will hopefully help us pull in better data across this really what is now quite a large portfolio of affordable housing so that we can have a better system-wide view of what is happening in these apartments. And that helps us to inform policy. There's quite a lot beyond that as well, but that kind of covers sort of the highlights, and you can look at these later. More recently, there was the 2021 City Council resolution that was meant to inform this reauthorization effort that we are here to discuss today. We are slightly delayed because our team was very focused on the renewal of the 2023 Seattle Housing Levy, yay. And now we are here focusing on reauthorization. But the council resolution has asked several things of the Office of Housing, that some of them overlap with the others, but some do not. Some are new. So comparing market rate and affordable rents, exploring appropriate income targeting and market trends, collecting demographics for those living in MFTE apartments, examining the foregone and shifted property taxes, considering advancing labor equity outcomes, reviewing data about older and expiring MFTE properties so that we understand as we are setting up extension potential for 12-year extensions that it's grounded in data and that it makes sense, and constituent engagement. This is important for us at the Office of Housing. We really care about hearing from our partners and want to make sure that our policy is informed by people who are on the ground doing this work every day. So that is why we are coming together today. And this won't be the last opportunity. At the Office of Housing, we're looking at data all the time, and I want to share some of these. I'm going to have to kind of go fast. We're running tight. 50% AMI rent remains out of reach for minimum wage workers in the city. The area median income in the city of Seattle has increased 37% in the last 5 years, largely due to the highest income earners dragging that scale upward. Workers who are making minimum wage would be cost burdened in 50% max rents. This is really important for us at the Office of Housing, for our city-funded affordable housing, as well as examining the policy and setting the forward goals for MFTE to consider what is happening for income in our region. I think someone told me yesterday, it was super interesting that, because generally homeowners are higher income, skew higher income, renters skew lower income. If we were to actually have separate AMIs for our homeowners and our renters, 70% AMI would be considered 100% AMI for renters. So it's really important that we're looking at this income targeting issue. It's very, very critical that we're meeting the needs of folks who we need to live in the city, like Lindsay, so that they can be there when an emergency happens in their building, so that they can show up to work and not worry about a 2-hour commute. So all of these things are part of the equation. The next slide shows that severe housing cost burdens most deeply impact the lowest income people in our city. People who are under 30% AMI, 59% of those are severely cost burdened, which means they're paying more than 50% of their income toward their housing cost. The next slide shows what the Growth Management Planning Council has set in place for Seattle. Our goals, our growth targets in these various income brackets for affordable housing. You can see we have a huge deficit in permanent supportive housing, but largely in 0 to 30% AMI housing. We are very far short of where we need to be, and we need to keep growing by 2044, over 40,000 homes. And then you can see the different categories and numbers and growth targets associated with each of those. So this is an important part of policy setting for the Office of Housing. We'll be coming back to this chart again and again. In terms of timeline, we've spent quite a bit of time talking internally over the first quarter of the year, first 2 quarters, identifying issues, getting in place data gathering plans, starting our analysis. We did the legislation to achieve the 2024 extensions for those that were expiring in 2024. And the goal is now, here we are in May, to hear from you all. In the summer, we're hoping to really focus on analysis and policy development. We are working with Greg Colburn and some folks from the University of Washington to research and analyze some pieces of this program. Our team is going to be doing some research and analysis, and we will be coming back to you all in August or September to share findings as well as concrete proposals for feedback before we are moving this forward to council. The goal right now is likely going to be Q1 2025. We can assure you there will not be a program cliff. We've already agreed to this with our council colleagues. So we will be working on that this year, and we can give you more information later on about what the plan is for preventing that, but bridging the gap until 2025. So yes, we're excited to hear your feedback in just a bit here in 2 sessions, one focused on program application process for MFTE and one focused on the renter application process, compliance monitoring and penalties. We will be releasing a form. Please use that. You can submit your feedback in writing online or through email. By June 30th, we kind of want to have a stop so that we can take time to assess everything that's come in. And we are hoping to do a survey of renters in July. We also want to hear from these very important constituents, what changes they'd like to see, what benefits they're seeing and experiencing in their homes, and be able to tell their story as well, as much as we can. And we'll come back in August or September for another meeting with you all. So next up, we have a meeting in 10 minutes. If you did not register separate, all of these have to have separate registrations in order for you to come in. If you did not register separately for either of these sessions and you would like to join them, you can register right now. The links are in the chat. Make sure you do that. That's the only way you can get in. We can't do it otherwise. And we'd be happy to hear from you all more at those meetings. So I just want to thank again Lindsay Haley for sharing her story and for agreeing to serve as our unofficial mascot for Program 7 Reauthorization. Thank you to Deputy Director Andrea Kita. Thanks to the incredible team at the Office of Housing who have all supported us to get to this meeting. It takes so many people to have these really complex policy conversations, examine data, care about the work that we're doing, and set up these meetings too. So thanks to everybody who has helped to get us here today. And we'll see you all in 10 minutes.